I like that.
Jimmy from NC.
That's right.
Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Good day, Glenn. How are you?
Good day, good evening. How you doing, Mikey?
Good day, good evening.
Man, it's always great to jump in the coffee shop with you.
I know, it's good stuff. It's been a
Overly
week or so.
caffeinated.
Yeah, it's been a week or so.
Oh, man, I always love it. I always get value, always explore things. I've never left the coffee shop without learning something.
Yeah.
Never.
There's a lot to learn from a lot of people. A lot of people have been, what I love about sobriety is that if you just pay attention to the people that have already kind of forged the path in front of you, really all you got to do is ask them, what did they do? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And if they just share that with you, then you got a roadmap.
All right, so I'll put you on the spot here.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you could give one line to a sober, curious person, what would you tell them? One line.
I would say, don't define yourself as an alcoholic. Ask yourself if not living without alcohol would make your life better.
God, that was half a book. Oh, my God.
Well, it was a big index card, dude.
I should have said 3x5 instead of 4x6.
But I think it was one sentence.
Right, it was one. Thank you. There might
Forgive
have
me
been,
for
there might have been a
interrupting.
comment
It
there.
should
I'm
have
not
been
sure.
4 sentences, but mine would be, there is a solution.
Oh, okay. That's a little bit of plagiarism, but okay, I like that.
Dude, I love you, man. You're great.
All right, so
what's
yeah,
on
we got
tap today, man.
Yeah, we got a
What's
table.
going on?
We got
Let's
a
get some
table
work
for
done.
3. So
Love table for 3.
Yeah, this coffee has been a long time coming. So one of our listeners at Sober.Coffee reached out to us and said some really nice things. I don't know if they were paid to say nice things, but they said really nice things about the show. And then they said, I don't know if you'd ever, have guests on. I've got a story. And, it's other people's stories that get me to where I'm at today. I mean, I get my strength, my strength and experience and hope from other people's stories. Well, Jimmy told a story to me, and I said, we got to get you on the podcast because he was telling my story, but it was so uniquely his, and it was peppered with so many, I'm going to interrupt myself. They say that the program is all about listening to other people's suggestions, but never in a meeting have I said, well, I'm going to suggest you do this. No one's ever said that to me. What happens is if you listen to their story, if you listen to their life and the challenges they face, if you listen, they are suggesting to you how to overcome an obstacle in your life. And that's what I heard from Jimmy. I heard a man who's pieced together a couple days of sobriety. He's got an unbelievable story. He's from the land of Bob Seger and Ted Nugent, which makes him a good guy in my book. And so I thought I'd just get him on, and we'll do a coffee for 3 and let Jimmy just share his story a little
Beautiful.
bit.
Welcome, Jimmy. Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you, fellas. Thank you. I want to start by saying that coffee is my last vice.
Last one.
God bless coffee. I take it
I have a
very
couple
seriously.
I love it.
Cinnamon toothpicks.
I loved, Mike, your comment about paying attention. If you just pay attention, it's really true. I was blessed with wise guys around me, and I had been beat up enough that I actually surrendered. And I was given the gift of surrender in a spiritual moment, in a dingy, dark detox on a cold January night, January 7th, 1993, in Ypsilanti, Michigan, what I like to call the end of the road. And those guys that surrounded me said some things to me, and I was very open. The gift had opened me up. And one of those things was you can always learn from anybody. Mm-hmm. You can learn what to do, or you can learn what not to do. Mm-hmm. And those wise words stuck, but you got to pay attention.
Right.
So it gets back to your saying.
Do you remember what they said, or you just remember they said something? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
was it the words or was the love in which they were delivered?
Truly the love. I landed in this detox. It was attached. It was a social model, which is a fancy word for no medication. And I had
Hey, Jimmy, I have done those. That is the most painful time of my life.
Yeah.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
Yes. Yes. I was, what do they say, polysubstance addicted. So alcohol, heroin, methadone, and Valium. I didn't sleep for 8 nights. I wouldn't change a minute of it now. First thing that keeps me sober is I never want to go through that again.
Amen.
But there are many other things. And that was attached to a 6-month program that I went in. Just the old recovery house with some great NA guys as staff. I mean, a couple of them had master's degrees, but basically a basic recovery house with some groups and a lot of meetings. We lived in a whole neighborhood with all sorts of meetings we could walk to. And that's what we do. And what I found in that area was just a whole bunch of guys that surrounded me and truly loved me before I could love myself.
We've heard that on a previous episode. I love that line, and that is such a value delivery of the program. It just, because I wasn't loving myself when I came into this program.
No.
And they just kind of loved on me until I could figure out that I was worth loving.
And at the same time, this drop of grace, my nature probably coming into this world was resistant to authority, let's say. I think there's a diagnosis, oppositional resistance syndrome or something like that. I didn't take direction at all. I did not follow suggestions, et cetera, et cetera. And it was an astounding state to have all that leave and find myself completely open. So though I did the work, I don't take credit for that gift. But in truth, I did absolutely everything they told me. Mm-hmm. And that's what assured me. I had actually, I guess I'll just tell it to you. It's the third night in the detox. I am sick as a dog. It's a dingy little place in the back. There's another guy in there. He had gone through the program and then he had left and gone on a crack run. And he had a horrible cough from that. And he's in there and he's coughing. It's very close and unpleasant. And he keeps saying the same thing. He keeps saying in between hacking bouts, he keeps saying, I just wanted to try it one more time. And I'm sitting there and, cough. I just want to try it one more time. And I would think to myself, why does he have to be here? And it happened. And all of a sudden there was a voice. I do believe it was a real voice. I do believe it was not the usual voice in my head. I have never been prone to the sort of diagnosis that create voices. And that voice asked me in a very soft but strong way a question. And the question was, what about it, Jimmy? Do you want to try it one more time? I was 39 years old. I was as beat down as can be. I was 130 pounds, filled with despair. Most everyone gone from my life, either angry or afraid of me. And I knew. I flooded with emotion. I had a bit of what they say at the end of your life, where your life flashes in front of you quickly. And it filled me with beauty. I saw myself. I saw that I needed this much pain to get here. I saw that everything was going to be okay. I mean, it probably took about 2 minutes, and it rolled through me, and the obsession to use was lifted from me.
Jimmy, let me ask you a question. And
Please.
it's kind of the, I'm jumping way to the end of the book. Did you ever go back?
I have never, and I've said this over the years, and I take no credit for this. This was a gift to me. I have never once for 1 second wrestled with using. I have never reached for the phone thinking I'm going to call some guy or drive by the liquor store or anything for 1 second. It was completely removed from me.
Wow,
Now,
that's great.
It was astounding. Now, let's be clear. I knew soon that in a matter of days or a couple of weeks, I had a lot of work to do.
Well, sure. Now you got to protect that gift.
That's right. That's right. I respect the disease. I know this is a gift. And so it's like I'm shot out of a cannon, essentially into recovery. So I embrace the hell out of it. But it was only that removal. Everything else, including growing up, maturing, working the steps, making amends, et cetera, was all on me.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing that protection of the gift is my drive. But I heard you also say that your experience in that dingy little dark room, I so connected with that because when I go to meetings today, there's two things that I physically, purposefully do. Number one is I go back to October 13th, 2018, that moment of despair for me. I have to bring myself back there emotionally just for a nanosecond, just to remember where I was, because I don't ever want to forget that despair that you said, that feeling of despair. And then the rest of the time there, I diligently try and grow and in myself. And by default, my sobriety grows, but that's not my purpose. My purpose is self-development.
I totally agree. I think that's the human purpose. We're here to grow. We're here to grow spiritually.
Right. And you've grown in recovery. You've made a career of it, right?
I didn't. I did. I didn't plan on that. I was not one of those guys thinking, "Boy, I really want to work here." I was filled with gratitude and I was pretty joyous, but I also had real worries. I had created great financial wreckage. So what was on my mind was making money.
Right.
I'm never going to be a Wall Street guy, but, I also know that working at treatment's not really the path to money. So it wasn't on my mind. A couple years later, the detox I went through had been taken over by the main treatment of the whole county. And I had been doing service there, going in once a week and listening to guys. And so the manager at the time went to the main boss and said, "You should hire this guy because they're expanding a bit." And I actually resisted. I said, I said, "Man, I got a 401k. I got to get some money." And then the universe intervened. I blew out my knee and I couldn't do my job. My regular job, had a physical aspect to it. And I had, a little OSHA workman's comp, but I thought I need a part-time gig. So he called me again and I said, "Okay, I'll come over part-time. It's just a desk job, not physical." And for a good 2 months or more, I was thinking, I still thought, I'll go back to whatever. I'm going to have a career. And then something else happened. I'm out at the main facility. This is a treatment center, and then they have second stage places around the town, and they got the detox, and they run a jail program. And now I'm starting to go into the jail too and
starting
work.
to get involved, right?
Yeah, quite a bit. I go out to the main facility to get our mail for our building. And I'm in a hallway at the mailbox, and you can kind of hear everything. The acoustics of the building are such. And the manager is basically the executive director is the guy who hired me. He's in recovery. Jim Ballmer at Dawn Farm, DAWN. He's retired now, but he was there for like 35 years. But he had a manager, and the manager was complaining about me. I'd made a mistake, done something wrong, nothing too big, and he said an amazing thing. He said, no, you don't touch him. He loves addicts. And the first thing I thought was, I swear to God, doesn't everybody?
Yeah, right.
And
right.
Sure enough, no, they don't.
Yeah, Jimmy, this is where Glenn would pop in, if Glenn were talking, but I think his mic's on mute. This is where he'd pop in and say, it's funny how things work out this way. Look at how they work out.
Love it. I've written down 8 different notes so far.
Yeah, it's just
Do those
suggestions if you listen.
Are they questions, those notes? Because you can jump right in and ask me.
No,
anything
I
you
would
want.
say they're more exclamation points. I mean,
Good.
the one thing, and I know we're not on video yet, but I mean, Jimmy's full. I mean, just visually, he's full of excitement, full of gratitude. Right?
I still am. Yes. Amen.
And something that you pointed out, that you did early on. Well, first of all, I'm kind of stuck thinking about my little visit to a non-medical detox, which I visited twice because I needed a reminder. And in my mind, it hasn't said it for quite some time, but my mind many times, Jimmy said, want to try it one more time. And those times when I said that, another voice in my head said, "You've got this. It'll be different this time. You'll get it figured out." And just to tell you how my mind works, and I hear people share their story and they do coke and drink at the same time. I mean, there's times that my brain today says, "That's the solution, Glenn. You tried everything. You didn't try that.
You didn't try that.
If you had tried that, that could be the solution. That might be it." So you know what? You want to try it one more time? Yeah, my brain said that so many times. But you also said, Mike, I know you commented on this. That, hey, guys loved on me before I could love myself, and I think that's one of the secrets to this program. I felt that. Before I hated myself so much, and yet guys in the room loved me. I didn't understand it. I'm like, why are you buying me coffee? What do you want in return? Right? I can't do anything for you. I have nothing.
Yeah.
I have nothing to give you. God let me live. He said, "Hey, why don't you come live with me for 3 months and just get back on your feet?" I lived with him almost 3 years. He wanted nothing to. It was just amazing how this stuff works. But I also like what you said, because I really like to underline this is, I had a lot of work to do. I had to put my gift into action. The removal, in fact, I think I quoted you right. The removal was quick, then the work started.
Yes. That's
Good
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of my gestalt, my grok, if you remember that word from the old, I think it was Robert Heinlein book. It was like a grenade in my head, was seeing myself and it being okay. So I knew that woven in there was, this is a gift. You didn't, I've studied grace, which means I don't understand it yet, but they always say it's undeserved. And I don't know exactly why they say that and what that means, but I can feel the truth of it. It's like, just take it. Don't think about it. Don't worry about the why or what or whatever. You are gifted. Now go.
Right. Jimmy, what do you say to the guy who hasn't been on the floor, who he knows the devastation that his life is in. He's in despair, but he doesn't have that moment. Now, you work with addicts and did for decades, and
I did.
So what do you tell the guy who's not yet had the experience? Who, how do you counsel? How do you love on that guy? How do you point him in the right direction?
Well, one of the things I learned, it took me a little while to even realize, everybody does not have my sort of experience. That's rare. And then the second answer is, we can actually take enough action that we can work our way toward that kind of surrender. It's a one day at a time kind of a thing, but if we take enough action, one of the deeper points about I did everything they told me was, there's a German mystic, philosopher, Goethe, Goethe. There's a quote attributed to him about there's magic and power in commitment. When you're 100% committed to something, when you dive in, bounce on that diving board. I think I'm making that part up, but I'm not sure
I'll quote you on that later.
diving board back then, but we know that feeling when we've just been so immersed in something that we couldn't fail.
I call that a superpower.
Yeah,
It
And
is.
I see that so much in sobriety.
It's a truth.
Yep.
It's a fact.
Absolutely right.
So that was what came from my gift. I stopped. I had no need to resist. Resistance and I don't know, pushing back against authority. That's like being a cool guy. And what's cool about detoxing in a dingy dump in the back where they don't even have a tranquilizer for you? So I can stop pretending to be a cool guy and just dive in, is where the payoff comes. So I would attempt to review that with someone where their resistance might be, because that's where, if we build that letting go of resistance and committing as fully as possible, that brings us closer to that surrender quicker.
Yeah, for me, the key to that was ego. I mean, I had to give up. I had to give up on my ego.
And we all construct an ego when we're children, and oftentimes we come from rough situations. There can be neglect, there can be abuse, there can be trauma. And the ego we constructed, for many of us, it was not a sin, it was necessary. It was a tool we needed at the time, but that was then, and this is now. And as fuller adults, we can begin to loosen that ego and let it float away. It's uncomfortable as hell, especially in the beginning, and we're not denying that.
Totally.
But we can also learn to detach a bit and observe it and realize that's not me. That's just a defense mechanism I created. I needed it. I don't have to hate it. There's a blessing within it, but it's time for me to let that go, as much as to commit internally to letting it go.
That is some wisdom right there.
Yeah.
The truth of...
That needs 2 underlines.
Yeah, this is one of those episodes that I think I got to re-listen to, because there were so many nuggets in there. I can't believe that our time is flying by like this. I'd love to have you back on. And in fact, we will have you back on. But let's kind of conclude.
You bet.
By saying, what have you left on the table that you'd love to share with somebody in recovery today? What would your one thing be that you'd like to convey to somebody who's new to recovery, or even into recovery deep?
We all deserve to love ourselves. Each and every one of us. Everybody's got a heart. Everybody. And inside every heart are real dreams. If you're newer and you don't know what your dreams are, I'm just saying you will. And that's, again, another thing where if that's your intention, it'll come even sooner. There's an aspect of what we're talking about that I would label healing. And there's an aspect, I've studied it deeply, I've been proactive, but I've come to also learn that I can't push that river too fast myself. There's an aspect of healing, there's an aspect of forgiveness, there's an aspect to deep changes that's God's time, not my time. I do the footwork, and it comes when it comes. But I'm here to say, everybody can love themselves, and everyone can have their heart dreams come out.
So, man, that is profound. That's wisdom. And it's just funny how this shit works. Mike and I were talking today.
This morning, early, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a guy that I'm working with, and he wants to build, and Mike, I forget how you put it, but
a 5-story building on a 2-inch foundation that's cracked.
I mean, he comes out of a devastating.
I can relate.
Yeah, right? So did I. I totally get it. But that's why I love what you said. You can't push the river. He's out there with all the heavy equipment trying to push the river, and it's not working. And I've told him, and what I experienced myself, I had to lay low for a couple of years. I had to lay low.
Yes.
I had to underperform in most other areas of my life because I wanted to make sure the foundation of sobriety was strong. And so I really relate to what you said about pushing the river. And because if you try to build big and tall before the foundation is done,
That's
it's
right.
like pulling a cake out of the oven at 8 minutes when the recipe says bake it for 40.
That's right.
It sucks.
It'll deflate.
Yep.
That's right.
It sucks. So the one thing I'd like to point out, and kind of as a wrap up, is you started with a saying. You know, when you went up to Michigan, I think, and I took some notes here, but you went to Michigan, you said it was the end of the road.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and what I heard through the rest of our session, our time together, was it was the start of a new beginning.
Absolutely. It was the worst day of my life, and it was the best day of my life. Right there.
You didn't know it then, but
No,
you do now.
no, I was in utter despair.
I know. I love
And
it. I
from
love how
that,
this stuff works.
everything came. Yes, yes. And I got to throw in, I understand we're wrapping up. I want to thank you for having me. I reached out to
Absolutely.
you guys because I love, and I'm just going to say it, older guys doing what you're doing. Okay?
Mikey's
Look,
older.
I'm 68, and I was one of those guys, and I reckon one or two of you were one of those guys that wasn't supposed to live much past, let's say, 35.
No, it wasn't
And
in my cards.
I adore being this old.
Yeah, right.
I never knew. I had no idea. Now I work out and I eat organic vegetables, and I got to tell you, I got some arthritis lately.
Well, I
and
don't
it's
push
like,
it that much, Jimmy.
what the hell is it? Yeah, but I do. Well, I love being this
Amen,
age,
man. That's great.
and they need more of us. Not for the great wisdom, just to say that life has many stages to it.
Right.
And every stage is worthy. Every stage. And I didn't honor a lot of the stages in my life. I missed transitions. So we're getting a chance to honor these stages in our life. And that's a fantastic thing. And that's
I
what
love
you
that,
guys
man.
are helping. So thank you.
Love it.
Yeah, it's
All right.
fantastic, Jimmy. We'd love to have
Honor
you
the
back on again.
stages.
And you quoted a couple people, from Greek mythology and
German.
German. But you didn't quote a Bob Seger or a Ted Nugent lyric line.
I'm going to throw in, I did 10 years in the music business in Michigan.
Okay.
I was an agent and a promoter. As a promoter, I only did smaller shows, but I worked for guys who did the big shows.
Yeah.
So I'm, Bob, I was seeing Bob in my high school in the 10th grade.
The Bob
For-
Seger
for-
system.
That's right, for $2.
Yeah, right.
And we were always there, man, because
guys
wherever
are old.
Bob was, all the girls were. You know what I'm
You
saying?
guys are really old.
I
Yes,
love
we
it. Jimmy,
you
thank you
rock,
so,
man.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank you
for
so much
jumping
for your
on.
Thank
time.
you,
We really
fellas.
appreciate
Thanks
it.
for the wisdom.
Thanks for
really
your work.
appreciate it.
All right, we'll get you
All
back
right.
on again, man. Thanks.
Cheers, Jimmy.
Talk to you
Bye-bye.
again.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@sober.coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.